Hi friends, my name's Trish Roberts and you're listening to Vegan Trove podcast number 1. Yes, it's my first podcast under this new page, soon to be a website as well. For those who might be familiar with my Abolitionist vegan page on Facebook called Live Vegan, due to some shifty Facebook algorithm changes over the last year or so, it's been at a standstill for about 5 months. And up until that time it was going along very well and had around 58,000 plus members, and it was getting about 80 to sometimes 250 people a day at one point, and then came to a screeching halt. And most of the last 5 months my daily updates in the news feed have only been receiving around 50 people to maybe 100 on a page of 58,000, which is quite poor really. That's sort of around 1% viewership in that news feed. So I've written a blog about it on veganismnonviolence.com, a blog page titled My Vegan Page, Another Facebook Casualty. So it's an interesting blog post and I invite you to check it out, and you'll find some interesting information about Facebook algorithms and how they are affecting education and social justice pages indiscriminately on Facebook due to the censorship that's happening in the news feeds. I decided to write a blog about the collapse of my vegan page when a friend contacted me last week telling me her Abolitionist vegan page had also completely stalled over the last few months. Other vegan pages seem to be clicking along, fortunately, but who knows when the dreaded algorithm may hit them in an attempt to coerce page owners to take out ads. The common denominator in this stalling seems to be pages who don't take out advertising and paid advertising. So I would urge anyone who can afford to take out an advertisement not to do so, because it's just part of an effort by corporations to set up a two-tiered internet. And this just reinforces, if you take out an ad, that just reinforces the two-tiered internet and assists in this coercive sort of anti-freedom of speech effort by corporations who just want the public basically to be complacent, ignorant, and a consumer society. I'd like to suggest maybe people even join ELLO, it's ELLO, which is a new social media platform. I don't know how it will pan out. It seems to be, it's almost like the anti-Facebook at this present time, and apparently there's quite a lot of people joining. There's many thousands every day, and it would be good to kind of teach social media platforms like Facebook, who do engage in this favouring paid advertising and therefore censoring pages in some ways through their news feed, through their algorithm changes. Some way might teach them a lesson if there was an en masse sort of movement away from those types of coercive measures to another social media platform which hasn't yet decided to use that. I mean, probably LO at some point when it becomes very successful will probably go the same way. It always seems to be the case. Google and various ones, they start off supposedly, I think Google said, do no evil. That's right, it was their slogan or something. Well, that didn't work out very well with their NSA connections and everything else that they engage in. Facebook has NSA connections as well, national security connections and Department of Defense connections. They allow for the Department of Defense to conduct experiments using news feeds, and you'll read about that in the blog post that I will leave a link to it in the information section when I post this podcast. So you'll be able to read all about it there. It goes into detail about the various measures that Facebook is undertaking without our consent and or knowledge, even though they actually have in the user agreement in the detail. The devil's always in the detail. They have that basically they can do whatever they want, whenever they want, as far as manipulating news feeds, etc. And when we join up Facebook, we agree to that. So Facebook conduct experiments, as it did in 2012, on about 700 58,000 people via their newsfeed, where it was manipulating the newsfeed to favor positive posts at one point and then going to the other way and favoring negative posts, and seeing how this would affect people en masse, and they got their results, and the Department of Defense was privy to that. So it's messed up and it's corrupt, and it's all part of the invasion of privacy, which is becoming more and more prominent today, and taking away of civil liberties, etc. So if you can avoid paying for advertisements, then I would urge you to do so. And if there is a time where if you find another social media platform where it's not like that, then join it. And I would urge people to leave Facebook, because I think at this point, when it allows people to gather up a membership, and they're a social justice page or an education page, and they're not making any profit, like my pages are. I don't make any kind of profit from it. I never have, and I never will, and I don't want to. You're already exposed to their advertisements, so that should be enough. But when they make it coercive, they're always asking you for money, and basically, I think they're basically picking pages off one at a time and trying to coerce pages to take out paid ads. It's time to leave, even if you have a... I mean, I really don't have much choice as far as Live Vegan goes, because it was going along really, really well. It was getting between 80 to 250 people a day at some points, and it was really going along well, and it was kind of increasing exponentially in a way, and then just completely stalled. Like literally in like a week, suddenly it wasn't getting any new membership at all. In fact, it was going backwards, and it's been doing that for the last 5 months. And I thought, oh, maybe it's the content, maybe I am posting too much in human social justice issues. So I tailored that back a little bit to see what would happen, and just did various experiments, and it really made no difference. I noticed there was this small viewership of probably 1% most of the time, and then occasionally I'd get a lot of people seeing a post in their news feed. And then suddenly it would go back to 50 to 100 people, and on a page of 58,800 people, that's very small percentage, and that's how it's been for the last 5 months. So basically, when I say the page isn't being seen, I really mean it's not being seen. So Facebook algorithms, I think, have effectively killed off my page. And when I received an email a few days ago, last week, from a friend who also has an abolitionist page, and I mentioned to her a few months ago that I felt something strange was happening to my page, and then she emailed me last week and said, I remember you saying something like that, and I think the same thing has happened to my page. That's what appears to be happening to her page as well. It's suddenly completely stalled. It was clicking along nicely and getting lots of views and stuff, and now it's just stalled. So she's trying to think of ways to get vegan education out there that doesn't rely heavily on Facebook, and that's what I'm trying to do as well. So if you notice that happening to your page, it seems to be indiscriminate. If you do a search online, you'll find there's actually quite a lot online about this happening, and so it's something that's happening to all kinds of pages, and it's disconcerting, and it's also anti-education, it's anti-freedom of speech, because social justice movements require ways of educating the public, and if you don't have any money, well, then we shouldn't have to pay money to be able to do education when you're not actually making any profit from it. Anyway, that's what's been happening on Live Vegan, and so this is why I've started up Vegan Trove. That's Trove, vegantrove.com. There's nothing happening on that website at the moment. I literally only bought it a few days ago, and so I'll have to start putting some information on that. And I thought I'd just start a podcast, which I'll probably do. It might be once a week, could be once a fortnight, could be once a month. At the present time, I'm building a house, so it's coming to the end of that, and it's a little bit frantic at the moment, so I'm not sure how regularly I'll be able to do podcasts, but I'll do my best. Hopefully we'll be in the house next year in around January, But that's kind of like when we'll have to get out because we're renting and the lease comes to an end. So, and somebody's bought the house, so we'll be out of here and have to be in the house. So anyway, so building will have to come to an end in January. Up until that point, it might be a bit all over the place. Anyway, for those who've been following Live Vegan for a while, or possibly even for the last 5 years in its existence, I just wanted to say I appreciate all the emails, particularly those who've contacted me to say that Live Vegan has assisted them in becoming vegan, and that's like the best news I could possibly hope for, and it's the reason Live Vegan was created. Abolitionist vegan education is very, very important to me, and we should all try and do our bit to educate ourselves about the issues. And I'd recommend some excellent books for this, which I'll put a link to associated with this podcast. There's a number of books. One which is really interesting is Mind If I Order the Cheeseburger and Other Questions People Ask Vegans. I think that's the correct title. And that's by Professor Sherry F. Cobb, or Cab, I think is her correct pronunciation of her name. And that's an excellent book. There's another one by Gary Francione called Eat Like You Care, an examination of the morality of eating animals. That's a very easy read, and it has irrefutable arguments about why we should be vegan. And that's a great book actually to give to others. I tend to buy about 10 or so books, and then every so often if I think of somebody I think might benefit from reading it, I think there's a way, if I think there's a way into introducing to veganism, I'll send them a copy. And I've done that a few times. I've probably given away quite a few of those books now. They're only about $9.99, and so it's not too expensive. I've sent a few of those along to people over the last, since it's been published in 2013. So I'll put a link to those 5 or 6 books that you might like to look at, and you can also have a look at, with the permission of Dan Kadehi, who's author of Unpopular Vegan Essays, about a year or so ago I did a mirror site of Unpopular Vegan Essays, because Dan has made the site private for a while, Unpopular Vegan Essays, and he said I was welcome to make a mirror site of it, which I did, and that's called uvarchives.wordpress.com. And so you can find wonderful abolitionist vegan essays right from 2006, I think, to 2012. There's a couple of hundred of them. They're excellent. That's definitely a blog site to check out. I invite you all to check that out, and I'll also put a link to that one in the information section. And the reason educating ourselves is so important is because if we're not educated about the issues, and if we still hold speciesist views and present speciesist arguments to people, then we're just going to reinforce speciesism. And one of the surest paths to becoming an ex-vegan for anybody is to not internalize a strong ethical vegan position. That's the surest way to become an ex-vegan. I mean, most of the people online who call themselves ex-vegans were probably never vegan to begin with. You know, it's because they became vegan for the wrong reasons. The wrong reasons are, generally speaking, for health and for the environment. I mean, these are ancillary benefits of being vegan. It can become inconvenient, and they can think, oh, well, I'm just going to start eating animal products again, which is usually what happens. And then you see these sort of blogs online of, I'm an ex-vegan, my body couldn't take it anymore, or whatever, I had to have a cheeseburger, or whatever and you just know that they were never vegan to begin with. They thought they were, and they call themselves that. And often people, they say they're vegan, and they might eat a plant-based diet, but veganism is much more than a diet. It's an ethical position which rejects the property status of animals. It rejects the idea that it's morally acceptable to use animals as long as it's humane, because there's no such thing as humane use of animals, and even if there were such a thing, it would still be morally wrong. And vegans don't use animals for food, clothing, entertainment, or other reasons to the best of their ability and whatever is humanly possible. So, when people say, oh, I'm an ex-vegan, I doubt very much whether they firstly became a vegan for ethical reasons and really had a good idea of what veganism actually meant, and that veganism is not just a diet, it's not about health, and it's not about the environment, even though those are two definite ancillary benefits of veganism. I mean, the environmental disaster that is animal agriculture. 51% of greenhouse gases are from animal agriculture, according to World Watch Institute, a report by them a few years ago. I've seen recent reports which kind of endorse that, not necessarily that figure, but that animal agriculture is just an absolute ecological disaster. It's the number one factor which is destroying the Amazon rainforest. I think it's I'm not sure if it's an acre a second or an acre a minute is cleared in the Amazon rainforest to make way for soy production exported to feed animals in feedlots all over the world, and also breeding and the clearing of land for cows. So an acre, if it's an acre a second or an acre a minute, I'm not sure, but that's an unbelievable amount of rainforest that's being destroyed. It's madness, really, because we don't need animal products to be healthy. We can get all our nutrition needs from plants and other non-animal sources, so it's completely unnecessary, and all of this for our taste buds, basically. Green groups pretty much ignore that factor of animal agriculture. It's the other inconvenient truth, really. This 85% of antibiotics used in the US are used to feed animals in animal agriculture. They do it as a prophylactic measure. So they're developing superbugs, these resistant bugs. Animal agriculture uses huge amounts of water. Huge amounts. I think it takes 1,000 gallons of water to make 1 gallon of milk. And considering there's a disastrous drought in California, a lot of the water resources are used up by animal agriculture. I could go on about the disastrous ecological effects of animal agriculture, but I think that'll do for now. Maybe I'll make a podcast just on that one day. 30% of arable land on Earth is used for animal agriculture, and that's all been cleared away. So not only is it basically contributing majorly to climate change, and climate change is now causing a sixth mass extinction. If we're eating animal products and using animals, we're actually contributing greatly to the sixth mass extinction, which is happening right now. So that's something to think about, and we're also contributing to millions upon millions of animals who are tortured and murdered in traps. They're poisoned, they're shot. Cheetahs apparently in Africa, one of the greatest factors to cheetahs becoming endangered is due to animal agriculture. You'll find that with many predators that animal agriculture is responsible for their decline. But there's literally millions and millions of animals are murdered every year in the wild, and I put that in quotes because this is the whole world is their environment, so it's all in the wild. Even if we occupy the space, it's all theirs just as much as it is ours. A lot of species affected badly by animal agriculture. This whole, where you get single issue campaigns which are problematic, and I'll talk about that another time. There's the badger culling that's going on in the UK. Badger culling, it's due to farmers protecting their, quote, livestock, end quote. I put that in quotes because that's a speciesist term. The animals that are used in farming develop bovine tuberculosis. I've read somewhere that cows actually gave tuberculosis to badgers, and now badgers are spreading tuberculosis back to cow herds. And so farmers are killing badgers. They call it culling. They're always finding euphemisms for murder, but they're killing off many, many badgers, and there's no humane way to kill. It's an oxymoron, humane slaughter. But they talk about humane killing of badgers, but that's a nonsense. Anyway, often you can actually source back various species being killed due to animal agriculture and interfering with somebody's profits. So a lot of the single issue campaigns that advocates engage in, apart from the fact that they're highlighting one issue and veganism addresses all issues, if they promoted veganism instead of promoting single issue campaigns, and people stopped and became vegan and stopped consuming animal products, because that's 99% of animal use is for food. So if they stopped consuming animal products, they'd actually address a lot of these issues that they're campaigning for: badger culling and cheetahs going to extinction, and our non-veganism by our consumption of animal products. So that's why one of many reasons why abolitionist vegans encourage advocates to not get involved in single issue campaigns and just promote veganism, the ethical position veganism, because it addresses everything and it's not speciesist. It's not highlighting one form of animal use as if it's worse than another, because tigers, lions, dolphins, whales, and we really have to stop fetishizing these species as if they're more important than other species. Certain species are more important than other species. If we were doing human rights campaigning and we were favoring some people, and I mean this exists anyway, but meaning that there's racism in the world, so if we were favoring one race, but we were saying, but the children in the US are enslaved, so we must end slavery in the US, when there is, slavery in some other countries and legal slavery, and there are children being enslaved in New Zealand, and we just don't care. I mean, that would seem very odd. Advocates do that. They'll pick one or two species and devote their life's work to that, when most of the people who make donations to their organizations are not vegan, and they're eating, wearing, and using animals, but donating to these causes, and they don't ask them to go vegan. Anyway, I'll explain the issues about the problems with the movement today. There's two movements really, but I'll explain the issues about the humane use movement. That's what I call them. The problems with that movement, which is all large animal organizations are the humane use movement. I'll explain that another day. And for now, I'll just wrap up this podcast now, since it is the first podcast and I actually didn't mean to get into those other issues. It's funny, it just kind of meandered its way to there. Sometimes you have to explain a whole other stuff once you've made a point about one thing, then you have to explain something else, and that's how it goes. So I'll just wrap up this for now. Please subscribe to Vegan Trove, that's VEGAN TROVE, on Facebook, and click the Get Notifications, which is just under the like button. It's the drop down from the like button, so that you do get all notifications from Vegan Trove on Facebook. Then if they mess with the algorithms at some point in the news feed, at least you're getting all the updates and it's not reliant on the news feed. So please do subscribe to that, and you may as well complain to Facebook about their algorithms. It doesn't hurt to register a complaint. Not that I think they would care or will do anything about it, but it's good to register your objection to this form of coercion. On the next podcast, which I hope to do in about a week. We have a very sick little cat at the moment, and I'm not sure how long Anjushri is going to live for. She's developed chronic renal failure, and she's actually in hospital at the moment, has been for the last couple of days, and probably will be till the end of the week, and then we'll know how that's going to go. But it's not looking very, very good. She's got a great vet who looks after her, but anyway, that's very sad for us, and so it might be a little while before I do another podcast. But until then, I hope that you'll read some of the information that I'll link to, and that if you're not vegan, that you will consider seriously going vegan. If you have any questions, you can post them in the comments section on Facebook on Vegan Trove, TROVE, and and I'll do my best to answer. And it'll be one of the best decisions you make in your life. I can really guarantee that. I mean, seriously, for me, I cannot imagine not being vegan, and it truly has opened up a world to me which I really just wasn't aware of, and it's sort of given me this an appreciation of other animals that I just never had. It's given me this great feeling of interconnectedness with the world, and I'm just more aware of not harming others. I'm just really, really try very hard to do my best to avoid harming insects. It's just something that has a profound effect on you, and it's also just wonderful to even just in the diet side of things. It's wonderful just eating plant-based products. I mean, the food is delicious. I've become a so much better cook over the years. I love cooking. I did enjoy it before, but I love it now, and it's just great to know that I'm doing my best not to harm any individuals. It's just a wonderful thing. It's a real joy, and it's not a hardship at all. So don't believe any of this. Don't believe any propaganda out there put out by large animal organizations that it's difficult and it's extreme and it's purist and it's this and that. I mean, it's just nonsense, and it's wrong. It's wrong of them to say that. And I will talk about the large animal organizations another time. But anyway, just know that it'll be one of the best decisions you make in your life, and I consider it an incredible gift, and it's the least we can be. It's the absolute least we can be. So if there's anything that you gain from these podcasts, I hope it is that you become vegan, and in particular learn about abolitionist vegan and why it is so important today, particularly in the confused movement we have at the moment, full of speciesism, a lot of it. So please have a look at those links I've listed, and in the meantime, I'd like to say thank you for listening, and until next time, bye for now.